Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. For this video, I'm going to show you how I coordinated two cakes going to the same party. One was a masculine version and one was a feminine version, and how I went about coordinating them but keeping them still different at the same time. First thing we need to do is go ahead and get our cakes frosted. These were already filled. I just didn't film that process this time. But they're already filled and chilled, and now I'm just doing my final coat of buttercream. I'm using my American buttercream, and I am just showing you how I'm doing one cake because I started with both of the canvases the same. So you see one cake, you don't need to see me doing both. So basically I just piped the buttercream on, and then I smoothed it with my plastic and my metal scrapers. I like to use the plastic to remove the bulk, and then I kind of like to go back with my metal scrapers to sharpen things up. I think you just get a better edge and a more finished look with a metal scraper, especially if you run it under hot water or heat it with a blowtorch. You get a very smooth finish that way. Then I had placed both cakes into the freezer for about 10 minutes before I went ahead and started with my decorations. Now for this feminine one, I'm using two different colors of buttercream, and I'm using a palette knife to apply this abstract buttercream layering technique. Basically, I like to put it on a flat surface, spread it pretty thin, and then I just use my palette knife and I scrape from the outside in on both edges of the palette knife so that most of your buttercream is in the center of your palette knife. That way you can apply it to the cake without having all those rough edges. Then I'm just using my metal scraper to kind of fine tune it, I guess is the best way to put that. And I also find that these more abstract applications of layering work better if you go from one side to the other. Don't apply each of your swipes of buttercream in the same direction. Otherwise, you end up with just a very uniform look, and that's not what we're going for here. And this is our second color, and I'm using the same technique. This time, I'm doing it a little bit more, what is the word I'm looking for? A little bit more fuller coverage than with the first layer. I wanted the pink to stand out a little bit more. That first layer of pink was pretty pale in comparison to the white. So this is going to add some dimension, some, and a little bit more attention to detail, a little bit more of attention, I guess, to the pink without going too far with it. And then at this point, I forgot I needed to add a third color. So I went ahead and added my gold leaf. This is edible gold leaf. And I'm doing it more in the chunkier method. And I'm not adding any water or anything to the cake because of condensation. Condensation from bringing it out of the freezer or your refrigerator is going to naturally happen. And I like to use it to my benefit when it comes to adding any edible metallic leaf. Then I needed to go back on the top and add a little bit of the offset spatula technique here. I wasn't sure if I was going to do that, but then I decided I wanted to go ahead and wrap that gold leaf up over the top also. And I thought it looked a little bit better with having some of your palette knife texture on there. And there's the green I'm using. It is a juniper. I think I used a juniper green with a little bit of black added to it to get a little bit more depth, because this color is going to coordinate the gold and the green on both cakes is what's going to tie it all together. So that's why we needed to add some of the green to the pink cake. I thought it looked pretty just with just the pink, but since the party was for a male and a female, I believe they were siblings, like adult siblings, so that needed to be more of a mature look, not like a child's cake, but still coordinating. So we're using the pinks and the greens. And for the male version, I am using a slightly different palette knife technique, and I'm adding a little bit of black into the mix. I put both of the colors onto this is just a plexiglass disc that I use under my cakes. I put them both on, smooth them kind of flat so that when I use my palette knife, and I'm using the round edged one, these are actually clay modeling tools. Oh, no, they're painting palette knives. Anyway, sorry. I suppose you could use it with clay also. I'm getting a little bit of both colors onto the palette knife. that's why I did that. And sometimes I would go with all more green and add just a little bit of black to it, or vice versa, because I didn't want every single swipe to look exactly the same. And that's why I'm also doing varying heights. But I wanted basically the base to be covered, or to be covered with the buttercream around the bottom of the cake, and then taper it off towards the top. So you apply pressure at the bottom, and as you get towards the top, you kind of release pressure. And then I'm using the gold to tie in with the other cake also. This is just gold luster dust mixed with Everclear, and I have it at a pretty thin consistency because I'm doing the splatter technique. So basically you just dip your brush into the paint and just hit it against your hand. I like to hit it against my hand. You could hit it against another brush. You could just go crazy and just throw it at the cake. I mean, you don't have to use your hand. I just find that I get a little bit more of a fuller, it just looks better, I feel, if you strike it against something else. And then I'm using the same paint consistency to brush on some of the edges of our palette knife technique, just to kind of emphasize that texture that is added by doing those swipes up. And now I'm using artificial flowers on this cake, and to make it food safe, I'm just wrapping the ends with some floral tape. With the floral tape, you just pull it, stretch it, and that activates the glue in them, so that when you wrap them around your stems, it sticks to itself, is what it basically does. And just put it on as high up as you need it, so that it is not seen when you insert it into the cake. And I did all the flowers this way. I'm only showing you 2. Then to attach the floral or the greenery around the bottom, I am using floral wire shaped to the shape of kind of like a long staple to anchor that in. Now you just need to communicate with your customers that where there might be some inedible decorations or things that you use to attach to your decorations. You decide what you're comfortable with, but you're not going to get that the greenery to wrap around the cake so much if you don't use something to anchor it to it. And I used a little bit of buttercream on the top to anchor my floral. I wanted to stick the stems more in the buttercream than into the cake. It might stick into the cake a little bit, but since you have those stems wrapped, in my opinion, you're fine. And then I added a topper and some inedible gold or spheres. There's black, I think there's black, white, and gold. Now that I'm prepping my decorations for the male version of the cake. This is, I can't remember the name of this. Anyway, it sheds real easily. So my little trick to prevent that is kind of using some confectioner's glaze, kind of like a hairspray. Kind of lock those in. What is this called? Somebody will tell me, I'm sure of it. And I know it, I just can't think of it right now. And then I inserted those into a little bit of buttercream also. Yes, some of it was into the cake, but those ends, again, were wrapped. And then I added some more of those inedible spheres. That's a hot debate. Guys, they sell these as decorations for cakes. People know not to eat them. Just communicate with people is all I have to say about that. So here's our male and our female version of the same color scheme and the same techniques used in totally different ways. So I hope you liked it. I hope you got something from it, and we'll catch you on the next one.